Welcome to the Every Third Saturday podcast. We don't care what number it is.
Don't know. Don't care. Not now, not never.
We've done a few, so hopefully we're getting better at it. I don't know. But,
I mean, we think so, but that could be bias.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Well, we'll see what...
You should check the metrics. See how many listens and downloads we have. When's the last time you did that?
I get sent an email every week,
Oh, excellent.
and I don't think we want to talk about it.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
What-
Oh, hey, Krista.
Hello.
I think all our listeners could fit on one bus.
Not even a short one. It could be a
ETA
short
shuttle.
one.
But not the point.
Nope.
We just like doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Today we have a special guest.
Very special.
I mean, special in like a special kind of way.
Well, exactly. Hence my mention of a bus.
Right. Short one.
I'm feeling so much love today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are here with Krista Kistler, who is the Director of Growth and Marketing here at ETS. And Krista has a very interesting backstory, has a very interesting current story.
Indeed.
Little person,
Mm-hmm.
and living in Wisconsin.
Yes.
So,
And sees deer everywhere.
I almost got ran over by a doe this morning.
This morning, my parents just had a doe give birth in their backyard.
What?
Yesterday. Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Little pumpkin.
Maybe you're supposed to move to Bloomington. I don't know.
I don't know.
But, but Krista is kind of a do-it-all around here. She, if you need it done, you can ask Krista, and she will say yes, even though her list is like 100 things long.
It just continues to grow every day. Also, if you like how the website looks, you can thank her for that.
That's right.
Shared effort.
Well, I do the calendar. That's about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But Krista, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this today, even though it's against your will.
That's okay. Yep. My boss told me.
You're doing it.
I'm here.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where'd you grow up? A little bit about your journey.
Yes, the journey has been fun. It's been long and short, so sometimes I lose track of time, but could also be because I have a toddler, which Eric understands as well. Grew up in small town Owen, Wisconsin, and most of the time when I'm home, everyone still knows that I'm home. It's about, I think we're at 900. We used to be at 1,000, but we might be about 900. But yeah, I went to college, UW River Falls, and then I decided to teach English in Japan for a little while, and came back not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I just kept moving further west to the cities, and I thought, oh, great, I'm here. I have a job, but I am not volunteering anywhere. I'm not serving anywhere. So I got on the website, was looking for a place to plug in, and then family friends of ours, Scott and Deb Marrier, said, oh, hey, we know Tom and Jesse. They're going to be at a church actually in Owen in the upcoming couple of days. You should meet them because they are helping veterans in Minneapolis. They have a truck they're driving around, and you should volunteer with them. And I was like, excellent. Strangers in a truck driving around. Sure. Like, where's their website? I'll just hop on and submit a volunteer form. And they said, oh, no, it's just Tom and Jesse and their kids just helping. I was like, that sounds legit. Sign me up.
It was so not legit.
There's probably still a couple cold cases open in Owen.
Yeah, I don't even know. I decided okay, I'll show up, and it was cold. It was a cold day when I showed up to volunteer with my stranger friends.
Our very first volunteer.
Yeah.
Very first.
So yeah, Stranger Things. I think there's a movie about that, but
And what?
Don't sue us, Netflix.
And there was 3 veterans that showed up that day, right?
yeah, I know we had one hand warmer that we were sharing. I do remember that. But yeah, I thought, okay, well, this was fine. Might as well just keep showing up. So you said the third Saturday, we're going to do it again and again and again. So yeah, just kept meeting you and Jesse downtown and got to know a couple of veterans and pass out a few gloves. And yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, that is. So I want to back up just a minute. I'm always curious when people go overseas and teach English. So do you have to have a basic knowledge of Japanese in your case?
No, so the best part is I was super qualified because they said, please do not speak Japanese to the children. And I was like, great, because I know none. Sumimasen was the only word they taught me, like, excuse me, sorry, that might be a good word for you to use. And I said, all right, I also have a business degree, so I'm not a teacher. And they were like, excellent. They said, well, let's try it. So yeah, so the whole time, the main requirement was that you just didn't speak any Japanese to the children because it was an English immersion camp, which sometimes was good and bad because especially the middle schoolers, they would say things and then they would laugh and you were like, oh, ha, 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 that's funny. What did you say? So you couldn't like discipline or, the younger kids too would always call us the curvy Americans. And I said, oh, yep. And they'd ask to touch your hair because I have curlier hair. And so a lot of the young, like the 6, 7-year-old girls, they always wanted to touch your hair or have you braid theirs. So it was a very interesting dynamic, especially because you didn't know what they were saying. They would just stare at you or we'd get a translator involved. And a lot of fun stories. We climbed Mount Fuji.
Wow.
They told us we needed a translator because if something went wrong, you had to be able to communicate that. So, yeah, we made it up, made it down. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I bet. So from Owen, Wisconsin to Japan, then to, like you said, further west, helping us out in Minneapolis. And then where'd you go from there?
Where did I go from there? Yeah, so stayed in Minneapolis for a while. So that was 2010. So I've known you 15 years.
And you're still talking to me.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now you're my boss. I have to.
It's almost half as long as I've been alive, guys. I just want to throw that out there.
I know. I was like, did I do the math right? Good thing it was easy, right? 2010 and 2025. Yep. I don't do accounting here. I do growth and marketing for a reason.
Thanks, Mom.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah. So stayed in Minneapolis for quite some time and then got a job in Edina. Worked there for a while. We did some remote work. So they said, sure, if you want to move, you can work from home. So I thought, excellent. I'll move back to Wisconsin to be closer to family. Met my now husband, and I had to convince him to move to the dark side. That's what he called it, the other side of the river. I told him he didn't have to be a Packers fan. He could still be a Vikings fan. So he was okay with that. So we had the negotiation of sorts, moved to Wisconsin, and then I got a call from my friends, Tom and Jesse, saying, hey, maybe you'd like to work with every third Saturday in a staff capacity. I was like, excellent. I just moved to Wisconsin. Let me think about that. And actually at the time I was working towards a 10-year. So 10 years with the company in Edina, where all your added benefits and things all kick in, and right, that in your head is what you strive for, right? Like, what does success look like? Right. And you're like, yeah, that's it. I just keep working hard, doing my 60, 70 hours a week, work nights and weekends, but if I can get that 10-year with all the bells and whistles, and I had a conversation with Greg and I said, success, that's not what that looks like for me, and he said, you always wanted to work at a nonprofit. I said, you're right. So it's an easy yes. We just need to talk about, are we staying in Wisconsin or not? I said, maybe they'll let me work from home a day or two and we'll make it happen. So yeah, we agreed. We said yes. And he said, I'll support in any way possible. And yeah, that was April of 22.
22.
Yes.
Because I had just come on board January of that year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know.
We just hit 3 years
Yeah.
here in the new building.
Yep.
Right, my math
I
again.
think so.
Cheryl.
Tracks. Yeah, no, that's I feel for Greg being a Vikings fan that did live in Green Bay of all places for 3 years. And a lot of what we do here and a lot of what's done behind the scenes by you is talking about growth and how do we grow in the right ways. And you and Kayla have tag teamed marketing very well, and from the social media aspect. And let's throw in the coffee shop that we also own and operate, like all that back end stuff. But from your point of view, how have you, I guess, ETS has obviously grown since you started volunteering here. And Tom and I like to talk about, the future and stuff and opening I won't even say that on the podcast. We don't need that recorded for history. Well, what does your day look like and how do you envision the growth of ETS?
Oh gosh, it's different every day, and I think right now with growth, from, 15 years ago to now is when you are growing and trying to get the word out and help more people, you feel like you always have to say yes, right? Yes. Yep. We want that opportunity. We want to partner with that person. It's anything and everything. Right. And I feel like we work so differently and it's been easier for me to do my job because we don't have to say yes to everything, right? Because we want to be intentional and we do things differently, because it's not about the numbers, it's about doing the right thing and attracting the right people and making sure we're mindful that everyone that comes through the door has a good experience. And sometimes when you grow too quickly or you say yes to too many things, you don't have that same experience. And that's what's been awesome is that when I have to say, hey, Tom and Jesse, let's maybe hold on that. Or I love that idea. What was the joke? Let's do it in 2025, which now we're in 2025. Having to kind of be that, that brake pedal of sorts is okay because, we have to just make sure we're doing it for the right reasons. But at the same time, we want to help more people. So how do you help more people? And so it's this constant balance of we want the world to know, right? We want to make sure that every veteran feels seen and heard and they know that they have a place. So at the same time, we can't lose momentum because that means, we might actually lose a life. That gives me chills because it just, right, it matters. It matters so much that we are here to help and people know that. And whether, I don't have a veteran in my direct family, not my grandpa, my mom, my dad, I had an uncle years ago that passed away. But for me, there was a friend of mine that's a veteran and I kind of watched his journey on and off. And so I think everyone knows a veteran, whether it's in their family or it's a friend. And so if we're able to make sure that we have a touch point with them, whether it's through our website or just being out and about in the community, then they can tell another veteran or they can say, that's my son, right? That might need your help. Or, oh yeah, my grandpa served in, he was in Iraq or, whatever that looks like. It's kind of cool that there's this huge community, but it's sometimes underground. Like for me, until I worked here, I was like, oh, that person's a veteran. Like, oh, that person too. Like what? They haven't raised their hand, and that was something that like hurt my heart a little bit that certain people that are veterans that weren't confidently saying, yes, that's me, I'm a veteran, and I was like, why is there this timidness? Like, you're so valued and you're so worthy. And like, I just have so much compassion for that individual. And so that, I guess, drives my everyday work, whether it is working on the website or the metrics or the processes or the coffee shop or the events or the classes. But the cool thing is that while all that's going on, if a veteran walks in and is like, hey, I just need space, or I just need someone to listen, guess what? That becomes my day. And I used to feel guilty about it. I'd say, hey, Tom and Jesse, these are my priorities. And I'd walk in here and I was working on this and this and this and this, blah, blah, blah. And I just look at Tom and he'd be like, yep. Jesse kind of look at me. And so it's okay. I didn't get those things because that veteran walked in, I was talking to them downstairs. And it was this weird, silent pause of that is my job too, right? Is to know that what we're doing and the heart and soul behind what we're doing, I can't lose sight of that because, sorry, I was looking at these metrics on the website. No, that's not even, that's important. It's a means to an end, but it was like an awesome feeling coming from a really corporate world where you had too long of a conversation at the water fountain. Let's get back to work. We're not a machine. And it took me a while, even sometimes too, I'm downstairs chatting away. I'm like, oh, I got to get to that email, which is important, right? It's important that we follow up and we get back to everyone. But yeah, so my day, I just went in a huge spaghetti circle because I'm a woman. But we're landing back in the waffle, the square. But yeah, it changes, right? It's some of the things that have to get done, right? But then some of that is being available, right? Just being able to listen, and maybe someone just needs to know you're heard and you're important and you're appreciated. We don't tell people enough that we appreciate them. I appreciate what you did, the sacrifices that you made, and that you trust us to come through the doors, right? That's a big step for you. And if I just said, I'll talk to you later, I was working on something, well, that's not welcoming, right? That's not walking it out. So yeah, sometimes I'm at my desk, sometimes I'm walking around. I never really know what the day brings.
And you are known for your kindness and compassion. And it's very interesting to see veterans. They may come in wanting to talk to somebody, that space that you're talking about. And they may choose to speak to you rather than say, speak to me or Eric.
Yep.
And then that's a testament to who you are, but it's also a testament to the human nature of what we do. We get so caught up in the veteran aspect of things that we're all human beings. We're just trying to get through our day, trying to get to a place where we're comfortable and we're hopefully productive. But it's amazing when veterans will stop at your desk and have that interaction with you that fills them up. And so again, it's a human thing, and you kind of radiate that welcoming kindness. So it's one of your greatest assets. And so I don't always radiate welcoming kindness.
I feel it emanating through the wall, even.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I'm just like, oh, Tom's there.
He has a different presence, right? Sometimes I can read it, sometimes I can't.
So, but again, so it's always every no matter how many people we put on staff or even volunteers, number one in the job description is welcome the veteran. That's number one. Everything else, you said, falls by the wayside. Now, admittedly, some veterans will potentially abuse that, and we deal with that in kindness and in love as well. Never in, insults or anything like that. But
no, and it's never a pain either. Like I know for like some of our regulars, they'll come in and be like, "Oh, sorry, I bugged you for so long," or "Oh, I should get out of here so you can go back to work." And like, even with the regulars who are here all the time, what's been interesting for me is to even see them go through different seasons. Like they'll come in and they'll be, who we know them as, and then the next week you can just tell something's off. And one gentleman in particular, you can tell how thankful he is that just even if you don't fix whatever's going on, just so appreciative that somebody noticed. And I think that's what we knock out of the park. It's just that genuine care for the vets that come through the doors. Like they're not, that's why we have our store set up the way that we do. Like we call it shopping. We don't want them to feel like they're just getting some kind of handout or distribution. Like we want them to take their time and select what they want and be able to hang out and have those conversations and build that greater community.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. And that's going back all the way, 15, 16 years now. That's always been the cornerstone of what we do is treat the veteran like a human being first, like you would want to be treated. And, we all share a Christian faith, and that plays into how we operate. And although we're not a faith-based organization necessarily, we do follow the golden rule and try to make sure that we see people's hurt, even if it comes off in a way that is off-putting or annoying or even aggressive, that we see their hurt first and see the why. Why are they acting that way? And actually, both of you, Eric and Krista, are both very good at that. And so you're definitely assets, not only to ETS, but to the veterans community. That they have people they can come in and just talk to, and that's a great thing. So, Krista, me and Eric joke, kind of half joking, about the next great idea that we have, and then you and Jesse are the brake pedals.
Krista's kind of like I was thinking about this earlier when she said this. Jesse, absolutely brake pedal. Krista's kind of like the clutch. She's like, let's just pop out of gear for a second, make sure we're headed in the right direction. Then you can throw it from first to third, kind of deal.
I like that.
And so you've put some of our ideas in the proverbial parking lot, which always stings for a minute, but you do it nicely.
I'm glad.
Jesse does it with a vicious look.
Well,
I get
it works.
It works, yes.
I'm pretty sure her pupils actually turn into little stop signs. Do not enter. Like if it were up to me and you, you'd be dressed as Batman. I was going to say we'd, have on blue leotards with red capes. We'd be running around saving veterans.
That's correct.
Like that's what we'd be doing.
Right.
But
on the light rail.
Oh, anywhere.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess we don't have a costume budget here. Or that's what Jesse said. I don't know.
Brake pedals.
And then you have the clutch. She's like, well, because even with stay in the fight, right? Like you and I are like, okay, we got this, we got this, we got this. And then Krista's like, well, is it professional? Like, is it done correctly? Is this what we want it to look like? And like, admittedly, it's taken us a little longer to roll it out, but it's definitely going to be a much better product for it.
Sure, better quality than quickness, and so how do you, Krista, deal with that kind of incoming? Don't know what your day is going to look like. Trying to get through your priorities. How do you deal with that? I say deal with it, but how do you manage that process?
How do I manage that? Oh gosh. Post-its. I think for me, because I do have like my calendar and my planner and right, things I want to get done or things that I know have to get, out the door or someone's relying on me. But then I always have just a notebook, right? Because things just come up on the fly, right? And when we least expect it, or hey, what about this? Or someone walks in or someone sends an email. And so I try to also create space for that. And if it's something that continues to be on my notebook, or I put an arrow next to it and then another arrow, and I'm like, okay, this needs to move to the top of the list. And two, I try to, touch base with everyone, like, hey, what's going on? Are you waiting on me? I usually just do kind of a mind dump on you and Jesse sometimes of here's everything happening and here's what I'm doing. But I think also because I live in Wisconsin, I have a longer commute, and that has used to bother me a little bit, like, oh, I'm in the car. But I realized that it gives me time in my day to kind of switch from, mom mode, my personal life, everything that's going on, right? That's distracting me, that I can get in the car and just kind of pause and think like, what might today look like, right? Might someone need something? Am I in a good space? And a lot of time that looks like, music or worship. But sometimes too of just creating the capacity before I walk in the door to say, okay, what might come at me and what am I overflowing with, right? Because it's easy to look at someone else and be like, whoa, like you're going through a lot, right? Or you're really tired, or like you just don't have a lot in your bucket, or the first thing out of your bucket is insecurity or anger, or right. And I don't want that. So I always try to say like, well, what's in my bucket when I get to work, or is there anything, right? Because sometimes, like many of you know, I have a very crazy morning. I'm trying to get in the car, and then this happens, and I'm behind a tractor for 10 minutes and like, hey, I'm running late. My daughter doesn't want to wear a shirt, all these things. And it's easy to say like, oh, I just have too much going on. Like whatever, I'm just going to just figure it out. And by figuring it out, you have to be intentional, right? To say, you know what, like people are relying on me, and I want to be here. I want to be helping. I want to be serving. But if I come in with all this crazy, which, right, you sometimes still hold it. You guys know those days where you're like, oh, she's a little off. She needs more caffeine today. You don't want to overflow into someone else, right? And so I try to be intentional on my drive to say like, what might today look like? And am I in a good space to take that in? Or am I just ready, like outflowing, that the first time someone needs something, or I have to pivot, right? We say pivot all the time. The moment I have to pivot my day, am I going to be mad about it, or I'm going to be tired about it or frustrated? Or am I going to say like, yep, yeah, I got space. I have space. I have some capacity. Yep. What do you need? Yep. Okay. Which is why I think I can say yes more, or I'm going to pause this. Let's pause it. We're going to revisit it, right? Put it on the shelf. It's still there. I still have to do it. But yeah, I think that I hold things loosely as best I can. I don't know if it comes across that way to either of you, but I try to kind of get in that mind space. Even when it's hard, or I kind of feel drained. And thank goodness we have a coffee shop next door, because I'm like, hey, I just need I always tell them like a half a shot of coffee or a green tea, but could you add some espresso to it? So it's now kind of a joke over there because it looks like dirty water when I have a green tea espresso. But yeah, I guess that's how I try to just navigate the day, is getting ahead of it if I can, when I can.
And how about, and this is for both of you actually, because you both have tiny humans in your household. So how do you manage work-life balance? And especially, we strive to not have work overflow, but we do have to do nights and weekends sometimes. This past weekend was a good example, Memorial Day weekend. We had to work a couple days, but how do you maintain a work-life balance, both physically and mentally and emotionally.
Do you want to take it first?
Yeah. So I mean, it's challenging because anybody who knows me knows that if I'm working with something I'm passionate about, I don't like to put it down, and sometimes I will go home and I just need a minute to talk to Alyssa and just be like, hey, this happened at work today. It really taxed me. But I say it a lot, and it's going to kind of be a cop-out answer, but like there's a reason that, like, so I have two phones. I have work phone and home phone. And Alyssa all the time asks, she's like, why is Teams on your personal phone? I was like, well, because they're my people. So I want to, like, the other day I sent a message. It was either Saturday or Sunday. I was like, hey, just saving this for future whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like Krista was like, oh, obviously opened it and responded. Like, we are like a support network for each other. So why wouldn't we want to be, at least able to be in contact? And outside of that, it's just personal stress I put on myself. Like I told you, I'd have a document yesterday, but I fought with it all day, formatting wise, and I just had to leave it here. And I've already been more productive on it this morning than I was all day yesterday. Chat
GPT.
Well, so yeah, right. That's how I did it. And then you were like, well, it sounds kind of robotic. I was like, well, yeah, it does. But no, that's how I got it. But then it was the whole Canva, Word, smash them together in Adobe. That doesn't work. Guys, save yourself the time. Don't do it. But yeah, I really like the work-life balance is really just for me emotional stress, I think, which is, solved by having good people around you. That's my answer.
Yeah, I can say that, I spent 14 years at Coca-Cola, and if my phone rang at 7 o'clock at night, I was pissed. I was frustrated. But now if I get a Teams message from someone from here at 8 o'clock at night, I smile. It's funny. And and it's such a huge change that it's just really nice to have that kind of community.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think similar to what you said, it's like your crew.
Mm-hmm.
There's that work-life balance, but you're at work so much of the time, and like it just becomes your family. So
yeah.
I think because of that, we can communicate like, hey, I'm running late, right? Because my toddler won't put her shirt on. Like, normally I'm not going to tell my other employer, hey, I'm running late, right? I'll be there as soon as I can, whatever happened. Where now, I kind of say, this is what's going on. Our family, me. And sometimes I'll say, hey, we're running late. And then I get here a couple minutes early, okay, great. That's fantastic. And now you guys know what my morning looked like. But I do think there is something to say about, turning it off, which is a true tribute to you and Jesse and creating the culture of saying, hey, go home, Krista. It's time to go home. And we kind of joked about it, but normally I was like, yeah, but those two things, right? That document I didn't get to, and yep, but go home, reset, go see your family, get some rest, like come back and you're probably going to be more productive. Right. And I think that's why, is because we have kind of those boundaries. And there are times when, right, it's my day off, or you're working from home and I'm like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Like, whoops, because you have that momentum, and I don't mind that, because we've created that space, to be able to do things. And it all comes down to communication. I think that's how we do the work-life balance, is just, we're honest about what's going on. Mm-hmm. Right. Hey, I gotta go to the doctor. My back's kind of out of whack. Like, you guys okay with that? Here's the situation. I don't want to put anyone out. Hey, yeah. How about you just log off? You're like, oh yeah, okay. You're okay with that? So It's mainly been, about communicating with your whole team, because you also don't want to put anyone out, if someone's relying on you. But also I've been getting up earlier in the morning, so I have a little more time and balance for myself. Because otherwise it's family, then it's work. And then, you get home and your toddler's running into your car because, okay, I'm here. So not like into my car, but like I'm parked, the door's open. She's coming in to say hello. Just want to clarify. Words are important.
Yeah. She need a helmet or
right? She doesn't like her helmet. So yeah, that's the balance.
So, and since you're the director of growth and marketing, do you have any ideas on the future of Every Third Saturday? So often the ideas come from knuckleheads like me and Eric, and we don't always give time to the other people on staff about how they see the future. What do they think? And so I'm kind of kicking myself right now, like, I don't ask enough. What do you think? We try to be open, especially our quarterly meetings and our whiteboard meetings and stuff. But what do you see going forward?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I think a lot of times, because we are on the same page in many cases, or ideas come up, it's like, oh, this isn't something new, right? Or, oh yeah, it's been on my mind, or like, yep, let's do it. As far as having, different classes, I would like to get our, like the volunteers and the Warriors Return presenters, and like, it's hard to get everyone in one space, right? We've got the events, the gala and the golf event, but of like having a big get together, at some point, because I think it's important sometimes for the volunteer to meet someone that's like, oh, I'm one of the donors, or, like, hey, this is how we all function, because we're like a hub and the wheel, and you don't always see who's helping that momentum, right? So I always think that's kind of cool, even from like the presenters, like, I came in and presented 2 weeks ago and I have no idea who spoke life or who was educating on this subject, weeks later. And so that's always been on my mind. I think it's kind of come up here and there, but the timing and the capacity, or who's going to plan that, like, I got it. Right. So I think sometimes if you have an idea, you can't just, here's the idea and you guys do it, right? Like, we're doing it together. And so I also am seeing everyone's personal life, work life balance. And I'm like, okay, are we approaching that growth limit? But we got to keep these ideas going, right? So I'm going to now say 2027.
Yeah. Thank you for leaving a gap here.
Yeah, and even with the stay in the fight momentum. What?
No, I just got close to the microphone. That's all.
Okay, I was like ready to listen.
I know
You're like right up on it.
I usually am. This is my friend.
I'm so glad it's not mine. I'm like way back here. I'm trying to be closer to the mic. But yeah, with like the stay in the fight and really getting this out of the gates of awareness and suicide prevention, and like not even that, but of like finding your community, finding your crew, like who's supporting you, like who's your battle buddy, all these terms that we use, but how do we actually like get it into motion where it's real, and it's not out of the norm of what, like, I'm not a veteran, but who are my battle buddies? Like, they're the ladies I run with, my trail snails. Shout out to you. Like, if something's going on, they know. And those are my battle buddies. That's just, it's your crew, right? You trust them. So how do you make it more real for people that are like, hey, I'm also going through X, Y, and Z. And so in any case, as part of that initiative too, of like, how do we welcome the community in, right, in a larger way? And we've kind of talked about an idea in the upcoming months here. If it's supposed to work out, it will. I'm holding that loosely. So stay tuned. We could announce something yet this year, or it might be in 2027. But yeah, I think wanting to get the community a little bit more involved, especially like neighbors that walk by are like, oh, wow, I didn't even know you were here. It's kind of a big building on the corner, but maybe you didn't know we were here, right? And then I feel slighted, like, oh, I did marketing, man. You know, did we not make the building big enough? But it's, right? It's just, okay, if you're not on the street or if you're in the community, I know we've done some mailers, but, you know, what if we, you know, do something different? You know, we've talked about a 5K or, you know, some kind of community thing where that awareness just naturally happens. So even like Nokomis Days has been awesome because we're right here in the area. And people are like, oh, I went to Nome, but I was at Nokomis Days at Oxendale's and saw your name. I went down and got a coffee.
Right.
So yeah, I think more of that community involvement, which takes time. But I do see that being something a little more prominent over the next few years, potentially. Planting the seed.
Pebble in the shoe.
Well, I think you shortchanged a little bit on your backstory. You have some interesting, I mean, the thing in Japan is interesting, but you've also run long distances, correct?
A few.
What? Explain.
Well, the 50K was the longest, and that was kind of by accident. So because of my crew, I just trust them. And my running ladies, they'll be like, hey, let's do this race, or we're going to run this race. And for any of you that have potentially signed up for a race, there's a lot of times options, right? And you're like, excellent, I'll do the 5K or the 10 mile. And actually before the 50K, so I accidentally signed up for like a 10K instead of a 10 mile. And we got there and the girls were like, well, we're doing a 10 mile. And I was like, well, I signed up for the 10K. So what are we going to do? Right. Thankfully it was loops, but it was out in California. And it was pretty rough terrain. So they did the 10K with me, which meant I didn't get disqualified. But the next race I said, okay, yeah, just send me the link. I'll sign up. And she's like, well, I think it's like an ultra. I was like, oh, that's kind of far, but I'll figure it out. And I looked and I was like, oh, that's cool. I think it's like kind of by Mount St. Helens. Like I've never been in that area. Like, yeah, I got it. And I'm sure it was in between like doing the laundry or this. And then, okay, yeah, got my card, signed up. And it was the day before. So I flew out, met the girls and they're like, yes, like with the 50K. I'm like, whoa, you guys are in a 50K? And then I thought, oh, I'm doing a 50K. Yeah, good. That's what I signed up for. She's like, yeah, it's up Mount St. Helens. So I was like, is there a helicopter? Like, how do you? Okay. So yeah, I made it happen, figured it out. It was awesome. That's probably my last 50K. I prefer maybe like a half mile.
That's
Yeah.
Yep, half mile.
You're talking to two half milers here.
Half marathon.
I have accidentally ran a red light. I have probably accidentally walked out of a store without paying for something. But I have never accidentally ran 50 kilometers.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yikes.
Especially when they tell you on that specific race. So I did have the know-how to understand like how many rest stops, right? Like that's key. Like, oh, good. And what do they carry? Oh, the gel. Good. That's the gel I use. Excellent. So I got there. That's not the gel I use. She's like, oh, we got the organic applesauce something. I was like, oh boy, because I like did not pack enough fuel. So yes, for those runners, if you decide to run more than a red light, like you need fuel. Do not try a new gel for the first time.
I think I already know where this is going.
Oh man, no, I not feel good for about a couple miles. And I was like, I think I have to walk back. Like I had this moment of, and we talk about grit here, right? We talk about resilience. And that was like one of my top, like grittiest moments, I think. Cause I was like on all fours, just like, I can't breathe. My stomach hurts. And thankfully my girlfriend, Emily, was like, so I don't think they're going to come get you. That was her motivation. Thanks. And I was like, are you sure? like, they get a 4-wheeler or something in here, right? And she's like, you're probably gonna have to walk the 6 miles back. Like, we were that far. And I was like, that's not happening. So I decided to do the rest of the, 30 miles the other way, which in hindsight, when they say like ultra runners are crazy, like, I get it. Like, I would not consider myself a runner. I'm like a
casual
jogger. So, but again, it talks about community, right? Like, in that moment, I didn't need like, oh, you're going to feel better. Let me rub your back. Like, don't touch me, first of all. Like,
Right.
I don't feel good. Sorry, it needs some space. But yeah, she's like, well, I don't think they're going to come get you. And like, that was my motivation. Like, you're right. So I can lay here and like be kind of a crybaby. Like, I was whining a little bit, probably not my best moment. But again, your crew also sees you in your worst moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's, I think, what tells me like who your real friends are or who your real community is, when you can share those like ugly things, or like, yeah, I not feel good, right? I'm sweaty and gross. My belly hurts. Like, got some coffee brewing,
Yeah,
there's all the terms.
literally up Shit's Creek without a paddle. You know what I mean?
and they love you anyway, right? And they're like, because I said, you're gonna get DQ'd. Like, you gotta go. You don't stick with me. You gotta go. And she was like, at that moment of like, oh yeah. But we talked through it. I was like, I'll figure it out, and so I also knew, like, as her crew, like, I can't keep you here. Like, I'm not gonna drag you down with me. So there's a lot of parallels to go with that. But yeah, so I watched her run, and then that also was like, okay, now I gotta chase Emily. I want to catch up to her. She finished an hour before me, so I did not catch up to her. But yeah, there's a lot of analogies, I think, in that with your trail snails and your running and your crew.
So would you say that you had a bad experience with an organic vegetarian fuel source?
Perhaps.
Okay. Taking note of that. She's a vegetarian. Vegan, really.
Pescatarian.
Almost. Pescatarian. All right, that's fair. She
Right.
did it eat fish at my house one time.
Mm-hmm. That's very great. Yes, pescatarian, but I also eat venison because I hunt deer. So you have to.
Well, that's a pretty good deep dive into Krista Kistler. I apologize to Greg. Sometimes I still think Weiler in my head. Your maiden name, and sometimes it just goes together. But
well, you've known me longer as Weiler than as Kistler, in your defense.
correct. Thank you.
You're welcome
for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, Eric. You got anything else?
I don't, but also we'll shout out to Greg. Last time we had an event, he and I. So I say he and I got in trouble, but apparently I got him in trouble. So I guess I'll, one, apologize for that. Two, hit me up. We got to do it again, dude.
As Viking fans.
Also, she's sitting right next to me. What's that phone number that people can text Hope to?
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I say it in all
Ask
the other
marketing.
podcasts. But yeah, you can check us out everythirdsaturday.org. Give us a call, 952-356-5116. Or if you put anybody's first name and then at everythirdsaturday.org, you'll get a hold of us via email. So that's it.
That's it. That's all we got.